Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Transport Subcommittee meeting today. I'm Councillor MacDonald, for anyone who doesn't know me, and I'm chairing our meeting. Also would like to acknowledge Councillor Sarah Thompson, who is the Deputy for the Subcommittee in the room this morning. Just as we'll open first with our karakia, and I will invite those who would like to join with me to join with me. Kia inoi tātou. Tuia I runga, tuia I raro, tuia I roto, tuia I waho, tuia ngā kaimahi o te kaunihere o Kirikiri-rua, whaia te iti kia hurangi, kia u, kia mau, kia ita, haumia, huia, tae kia. Thank you, everybody. I'm quite excited to be here and to be discussing transport today. I think transport is a very exciting part of how a city works. It's one of those things that people notice every day, people use every day. Transport flows, transport infrastructure, and so I'm excited to go through the various parts of things that have come out of the community, things that have come for a decision to make things better. And I'm also excited to hear the comments of those who have come in to speak to us this morning. Public forum and those who are going to also speak to submissions is a really important part of decision making, because it's your lived experience that is going to inherit the impacts of decisions that are made. So it's really important to hear what you are seeing, what you think impacts of changes will be, and that can be, I guess, weighed up proportionally as part of the decision making. So thank you very much for those who have joined us in the room today. Thank you to those who are joining us online. I know we have some submissions that will be coming through online as well. So appreciate the time that everyone has put for this. Before we get into the substantive parts of our meeting, I will note apologies received for full absence from Councillor O'Leary, Councillor Moroney and Mayor McIndoe. Can I please have a mover and a seconder? Thank you. Mover was Councillor Mead and seconder Deputy Mayor Thompson. Can I have a... Oh, what did I say? Deputy Chair. Deputy Chair Thompson. I was thinking Deputy Mayor Taylor and then I said Thompson. That's not an official promotion. So, mover Councillor Mead, seconder was Deputy Mayor Taylor. Almost did it again. Can I please have all those in favour? Thank you. None opposed? Thank you. All right. Confirmation of our agenda. We have moved some of the things around so that we can deal with the substantive motions or the substantive parts of the agenda while we have interested parties in the room. So you can see and hear the discussions if you would like to be here for that, and we've moved other things that will still be, I'm sure, of great interest to you but not directly relevant to what you're speaking to later in the meeting. So can I please have a mover to confirm our agenda as is? Thank you, Councillor Bidder, and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Taylor, thank you. Can I please have all those in favour? Councillor Thompson, is that, yeah, thank you. So that means that there are none opposed. Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest? No? Okay, thank you. Noted. Let's move first to our public submissions. So we have our first submitter, Lale Irimia, speaking for Richard Coventry, Te Awa Lakes Joint Venture, who will be joining us by Zoom. Good morning and welcome, Lale. Are you here with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Awesome, we can hear you. We can't see you though. can you speak for us again? We had an echo there. We'll just make sure that has been resolved.
Is that all right?
Oh,
can you
that's
hear me
better.
now?
That's much better. Oh, do we still have an echo? Can you make sure that your speakers are off, Lali? I wonder if that's creating the echo. We need your mic on and your speakers off.
There you go. Is that?
That's perfect. Oh,
Oh. No, let me see if I can get someone to.
no, it's been resolved now, I think.
Yeah, you're still echoing.
All right, Lali, as you are speaking on behalf of an organisation, you have 10 minutes, which includes your comments and any question time from elected members. So if you would like to share your thoughts with us, we would greatly appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Chair McDonald. We appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak this morning. Kia ora koutou, mā rosoi fua maua. We are presenting this morning on behalf of Te Awa Lakes with respect to our submission provided previously on the speed change at Te Rapa in front of Te Awa Lakes. We have taken the submission as read, so I was going to offer some additional points just in respect to our proposal. My apologies, Chair, I'm still getting feedback from the room, so I'll just try and turn those speakers off again. Can you hear me there?
Thank you, Lali. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So just wanted to acknowledge the feedback and the outcomes from the survey, and just to congratulate the committee in respect to being able to consult in that way. From an organisation perspective, we've continued to contribute and commit to opening up infrastructure and transport in and around the northwest Hamilton growth node, of which Te Awa is located. We've been working on this location and in this site for over 14, 15 years now, since it started with the inclusion of the new roundabout, which was connected to the development of the new state highway, of which the Te Rapa Road and the roundabouts interconnecting link our main infrastructure around. Te Awa, with regard to its mixed use development, had taken into consideration the life cycle and the evolution of Te Rapa Road from being largely industrial area to more of an interconnecting arterial route to link together the two councils, of which we sit in the boundary of, so both in Hamilton City and in Waikato District. So this road is critical and has been critical for a long time with respect to being able to be used for its current use, and also to be able to forecast its future use for more of a mixed use community in the future. We also recognise that future-proof has been involved in this priority development area for a while, and we have contributed in their discussions alongside yourselves, and would continue to offer to do that as the roading infrastructure continues to evolve with the other significant developments that are being proposed to the north of the city. We wanted to ensure that we re-established some of the relationships that we had with your traffic subcommittee or transport subcommittee alongside Future Proof. Given the fact that there are other major developments that are part of this area that may not have submitted as yet through this particular process, but definitely part of the growing environment that is the Te Ao Lakes plan change, as well as the Hamilton Northwest Growth Node. So we would look to continue to support that and encourage participation moving forward to improve the outcome for the community here in this location. We just wanted to make those additional points to our submission and acknowledge what the community have responded back to, and understand that there will be a natural evolution of the right speed for the right outcome at the right time as we continue to evolve the urbanisation of this area and space. Thank you. That's the end of our additional elements to our submission. Chair McDonald. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Lale. First of all, thank you for making a submission and engaging with that process. As I mentioned earlier, it's really important for us to hear what the public have to say about various parts of how the city works, and thank you also for adding additional detail and nuance to the submission that has been lodged. I would like to open for questions if anyone has anything that they would like to ask Lale. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Lale, for taking the time to present in person today. I was just interested, your last comment talked about the natural evolution of this area and, you know, the right changes at the right time, noting the quite strong public feedback against changes at this point. Would you be comfortable that this is something that is revisited in the future when maybe the community sees a more obvious need for change, or there's more community support?
Yes, Councillor Thompson. So I think the opportunity is once people start seeing how things are evolving, there will be a better understanding of what practically might be suitable in this space. Given there's a fair bit of infrastructure still to go in and around this area, especially if the other developments are successful with regard to their planning moving forward.
That makes sense. Thank you. And thanks again for the submission and presenting.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. If there are no further questions, then we will end that submission commentary there, Lale. So thank you again for your time this morning. We appreciate that, and we are going to move on to our next submitter, who's not here. Oh, thank you. So our next submitter, Wolf, is Wolf in the room? No, not online. Okay, so we will move on to our public forum, and we will start with Kate Harris, who will be speaking. Is Kate here? No? Okay. Okay, we're a little early then. Arrived. Ah. Perfect timing. Welcome, Kate. Is that where?
Sorry,
yep.
where would you like me? Yeah.
That would be perfect. Thank you. So Kate Harris is speaking from Nez Boutique on item number 7, Barton Street.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here today. I just wanted to talk about my passion for the Barton Street angled car parking. Ness has been in that street for 18 years now, and Sarah and I met, I think it was last year, and I spoke about possibly putting in some angled car parking, or, for example, making the street one way. has been in the past, not so much recently, where cars go definitely over the speed limit. So from a safety perspective, this is sort of where my thinking was. And I guess also, not selfishly, but from a business perspective, and other retailers have the same thoughts as me, is to, if we bring more car parking into the street, we're going to bring more foot traffic. And in retail, we have a saying, being busy brings business. So if the street is busy, more people are going to be more inclined to come to the street, and by increasing the car parking, that will naturally happen. Even seeing City Fitness open, whilst that's not directly related to retail, it has brought more people onto the street, people walking to the gym, and to be honest, our sales have increased since they've opened. So I see putting car parking as additional car parking in there as a way to hopefully continue to increase our sales, because it has been a really tough 3 years. Unfortunately, some of my constituents on the street couldn't be here. A lot of us run sole charge, and so Andrea from True Store, Lisa from Soul Gallery, Ali from Parlour, and a few others are all in support of this. We understand, for example, ASB has some concerns around trucks turning. What I would love to happen is for, I guess, an opportunity for all of the retailers, businesses on the street to come together, maybe at a more convenient time, for example, 8:30 to 9, just before we trade, and we can sort of talk through some of the issues that are halting the project, because I think there are some logical solutions. One could be, does become a one-way street where you enter on London Street and you exit on Bryce Street. Another could be looking at maybe placing the loading zones in a different place. I do think by having the angled parking and parallel parking, the street's narrowing anyway, so the ability for a truck to turn around like they have been currently is probably going to be limited. So they are going to, for example, need to enter one way and exit the other, just from, just a logical perspective. But yeah, that's sort of, I'm very passionate about this, and I'd love to see it go ahead. And I have personally invested another 8 years worth of a lease into Barton Street, so I'm certainly not going anywhere. I'm also moving our retail store and putting a hell of a lot of money into a new fit out, and we're also launching a new brand. So I am city number one passion driver for the city. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any.
Thank you, Kate. We can feel your enthusiasm and your passion for the city, and also for trying to make Barton Street the best that it can be for both retailers, businesses and pedestrians, shoppers. So thank you very much. We have heard your perspective.
Thank you.
Can I open the floor for questions? Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Claire. Just a question on the 2-hour free parking. Is that going to help you as well?
Significantly. When the car parking changed, I can genuinely say on that day, sales dropped 30% and continue to drop 30%. So by having the car parking back up to 2 hours, I see that as a positive. When it was 2 hours, what we were experiencing was that customers were finding a car, or client, anyone, was finding a car park, surprised they found a car park, were possibly 10 to 15 minutes early for an appointment. They would come and look in the store. They would ask us to put things on hold. They would go to the appointment, and then they would still have a spare 15 minutes, and they would come and make their purchase. Those people left.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate. Appreciate that.
Thanks so much.
Right. Can we move to our next public submitter, which is Peter? Peter Kemp, speaking also to item number 7, Barton Street. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson, and thank you to the councillors. Can I just add how wonderful the opportunity was for members of the public to speak with the councillors at the recent consultation period, I suppose, around the city. And there were three of you here that I spoke with, which was about the crisis with rates. So my name's Peter Camp, and my interest is that I'm a owner of the ASB building in Barton Street. And so that's what I'm speaking about here. So I wish to support the Hamilton City Council staff recommendation on page 81 that no changes are made to the parking restrictions or layout on Barton Street. So I've got a couple of concerns, and I appreciate the submission that we've just heard, but we have a different view. So one of the most significant issues is around if we had angle parking even on one side of the street, which I think was the latest proposal, then this would reduce the required size of the turning circle for trucks that mostly back into the laneway between the ASB building and the building next door, which was previously occupied by Torpedo 7. So in the last, or since 2018, when the AS building opened, there's been 7 significant crashes, if you like, between trucks and the canopy. And it started to put actually the insurance for the building at risk. And the cost of replacing the damaged canopy or fixing up the damaged canopy was in the range of $5,000 to $10,000 for each event. So it's a significant event. Now, there are no trucks backing down the laneway to the benefit of ASB. It's actually for the benefit of 4 other shops that are serviced by that laneway, 3 of which are actually on Barton Street. Now, with the installation of another camera, we've been able to track the trucks that actually impact on the building. And there's been a bit of a safety issue too, because before we realise that there's been an impact, sometimes there've been pieces of the canopy that have been not properly fixed, and that's a hazard for the pedestrians. So that's one of the most significant points, is that issue of trucks being able to safely back into the laneway, and they're dropping off goods to the various premises, and also dropping off and collecting rubbish bins. And there was even one incident where a truck hit the canopy, and it was actually delivering a 20-foot long container, and how they got that in there was amazing, but in the process they damaged the building. So the other aspect is around the cleaning of the building. We use a knuckle boom to have the operator up at 4 stories, and that is actually, I think it's sort of marginal, but the contractor assures me that it's safe. But what will be required for the installation of angle parks is that there is actually a build out at the 2 ends of the street, and to narrow the entrance to Barton Street to allow the cars to actually back out of the angle parking. And that actually will result in precluding the knuckle boom from being able to be positioned near the corner of Barton and Bryce Streets, and it won't be able to be stable enough to actually support the operator at the top of the building. So, and in addition to that, when we clean the building annually, we have to pay for the car parks for a whole day. So there's currently 8 car parks on Bryce Street and Barton Street that we pay for. If there's more parks, then there's more car park spaces that we have to pay for the day when the operation happens. So just like to reinforce that we support the HCC recommendation that there are no changes to the parking on Barton Street. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. We have heard your clear perspective on things. The bell has gone, so that means that we don't have any time for questions. But if anyone had anything that they would like to follow up with, they can do that out of this formal time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in and sharing your thoughts with us this morning. May I invite Brad Saxon to come and present to us. Brad is joining us to also speak to item number 7 in terms of Barton Street.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm speaking today as a Hamilton City ratepayer who works on Barton Street. I regularly walk along the street to enjoy the various cafes and other shops. My wife suggests sometimes I shouldn't frequent the cafes so often, but that's between her and I to work out. So I spend a lot of time walking up and down and across the street, so I think I'm pretty qualified to talk on this matter. I support the staff recommendation to not change the current parking configuration on the street. My concern is that installing angle parking on Barton Street would decrease the safety of the users of the street. Both pedestrians and vehicle drivers would be at greater risk of being struck by a vehicle. Currently it's very safe to cross the street because you can see in both directions quite easily and the traffic moves quite slowly. I was interested to hear the previous submitter say she had an issue with cars being historically driving quite quickly on the street. In the several years I've been working on the street, I haven't come across that. I find the traffic to be quite at an orderly speed on the street. And as everyone would know, there is always a blind spot when reversing out of angle parking. The street isn't wide enough for this to happen safely. The reversing vehicle would always be backing into unseen oncoming traffic. Opposing traffic would be closer to each other due to the narrowed carriageway. Barton Street would end up like Worley Place. I'm at Worley Place every morning and night. I've seen a number of near misses with reversing vehicles and a narrow carriageway. Vehicles are always stopped on the road as there isn't enough room to get past each other. It would be disappointing if Barton Street suffered the same fate. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Brad. Open for questions. Councillor Bitter.
Thank you, Chair. Brad, do you think if it was changed to a one-way street with angle parking on one side, would that solve the safety issues that you're seeing?
Currently, I don't see any safety issues. Bringing in angle parking, I think, would create safety issues. I actually don't think that parking is what keeps people away from the centre of the city. It's this, I walk between Worley Place and Barton Street every day, and at least once a week I have someone asking me for money on the side of the street. I think that's what's keeping people away from the CBD, not the lack of parking. I walked to get a coffee yesterday morning. It's 150 metres. There was 5 empty car parks at 10:30 in the morning, so I don't think I think we're trying to solve the wrong issue here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, then thank you very much, Brad, for coming in.
So thank you for the opportunity. It's on democracy at work.
Appreciate that, Brad. Thank you. I'd like to invite Vanessa Williams, who is speaking for the Hamilton Central Business Association, also speaking to item number 7. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors. I feel like I've spent a bit of time here lately. So I want to speak on the Barton Street car parking as well. As we know, as a central city, we are wanting to create a vibrant and bustling environment. We know that finding a park is one of the biggest factors on whether somebody comes into town or not. The general public's made that preference quite clear in a number of different ways, surveys, Facebook, commentary, that they want more parking opportunities in the heart of the city. So providing more parks will fundamentally reduce a barrier to coming into town. It makes it easier for people to come in, enjoy the businesses, enjoy the local vibe, and experience the central city. So the recent council report, of the 99 businesses, property owners and community groups consulted, the majority were in favour of introducing the angled parking. I spoke directly with a number of the businesses on Barton Street late last week, including the ones that Kate from Ness spoke about earlier, and that majority support was reiterated from walking up and down the street and speaking with businesses. So with the majority of those supporting having a change and increasing parking stock down that road, I was surprised to see the recommendation by council was in favour of keeping the status quo, although that clearly wasn't the sentiment from the public consultation. I understand that one of the big factors, as we heard about from an earlier speaker, recommends making no changes based on the specific design challenges with this iteration, specifically the space required for the trucks going into the ASB service lane. However, I do see that just because this initial design presents a hurdle, it does not mean that the project should be completely abandoned when it has such strong public and business backing. So my request to council today is that we explore alternative design options for Barton Street, find a workable solution that can incorporate the angled parking. If it has to incorporate a one-way system, as potentially was discussed earlier, whether the parking variation, the loading zones, that sort of thing, there's many factors that can be looked at to create another potential solution. So basically, rather than just settling for the status quo, that wasn't what the majority of people wanted, I would like to see this explored further and see how we can actually come up for a solution that works for everybody. Remove some of those barriers to parking in the central city, keep our central city moving forward, and allow every opportunity for the public to come in and experience it and for the businesses to thrive here. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Spoken very clearly. Do we have any questions from our elected members in relation to?
Wonderful. Thank you.
No, very clearly, no questions.
Thank you.
We've had an update from one of the submitters who was going to join us online, Wolf, who is apologising he will not be joining us and will let his written submission stand. So that concludes all of the public submissions and also our public forum. So what we will do is move through to the various parts of item number 7. We'll start with Barton Street so that our public forum who presented to Barton Street can be here for that discussion. So if I turn out, can I invite Robin to come and present to us for item number 7? And if I can ask you to start with Barton Street, we will go from there. Thank you and good morning. Over to you, Robin.
Good morning, Chair and councillors. So, Barton Street is, excuse me, got a frog, starts on page 48 of the agenda, clause 69. I guess there's been pretty good overview provided in the public forum this morning. There were 2 options that we originally consulted on, which was to gather an indication of whether the preference was to have the angle parking on the east or western side. There was a strong support for the western side. However, the difficulty that was also added to that was that there was strong support for the loading zones to be on that side as well. And loading zones are longer than what the angle parking would provide for. So we came up with a revised solution, which is shown under clause 77 of the report. And that provided a section of parallel loading zone, which was specifically located at that particular point for two reasons. One was to provide the loading into the Casabella Lane, who were the ones that specifically wanted that loading. The other one was to cater for another truck that backs into a right-of-way up access service lane, which is next to the Soul Gallery. So we went out and consulted on that, and then we had the conversations with the ASB building. It is possible to put a similar type of setup for parking opposite the loadings, the access way into the ASB area. But the reason why I've made a recommendation for no change is that by the time we take out those angle car parks to provide that parallel parking in that point, we're not actually gaining very many car parks at all. And there was going to be some significant costs associated with changing the entrances at either end of the street to provide the protection for the angle parking and to build those parallel parking areas. So that's why that recommendation was put to this committee. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Robin, thank you, and thank you for the extensive work that you guys have done on this rigorous consultation. When people say council doesn't consult, they haven't watched you guys in action with this project, that's for sure. Just in terms of, there's been some suggestions about one-waying Barton Street. Do you think it's worth having a look at that? I know there's a parking study coming up in the next few months. Do you think it's something that could warrant some having a look at in terms of how it fits into the network and all that sort of stuff?
I think rolling it into that parking study would be logical. As part of making a one-way, there's obviously a decision to decide which way, and understanding the impact that that'll have on the traffic flows and the operation of the intersections either end would need to be taken into account.
Do you have a gut feel on how it might work?
No.
All good. Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Taylor. Councillor Thompson.
Okay, thank you, and also, yeah, similarly, thank you for all of the work that's gone into trying to find a solution so far, Robin. I was interested in if there were angled parks removed to provide the loading zone opposite the ASB service way, do you know how many parks we would end up with in terms of an additional net gain overall?
It was in the order of probably about half a dozen. And we tried other options, which one was putting an on-street loading zone outside the ASB, so that the idea was that the truck then wouldn't need to back down the service lane, for example. But given the loads that they're moving and that sort of thing, there wasn't any favour gained from that idea. I guess we've tried various options. I'm happy to go away and try another one. But
do you know which businesses are the four that are using trucks down
the businesses in Bryce Street? So there's is it Baby Factory? There's is Catherine online? Catherine Johns? Catherine's actually the one that's done the hard work.
Oh, yeah.
I've just written a report.
Okay.
She's not online.
No. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, there's further chance for discussion. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I guess the final thing is, do you see there being value if we have another look at this in bringing some of the parties together in a room to try and work out what the various issues are and if there's ways to resolve them, or does staff pretty much have a good understanding of exactly what all those issues are now?
I believe Catherine, she's had some really good conversations with people to try and understand what their business needs are, as well as their desires for the street in general. In looking at the one-way, we're going to have to, I guess, go out and consult again to get some feedback on that. So we will be looking at another opportunity for engaging with the businesses, and happy to take ideas as to how we do that.
Final question was just, do you know, like, and again, Catherine might have been the right person to answer this, but with you said that the loading zone on street wouldn't have worked. Was it impossible, or was it just a, level of inconvenience?
It was to do with the size of the materials that they were bringing in and out. So obviously it's always easier to get those large pallets of materials as close as possible to the door.
Did we have, sorry, and the size of the trucks, what was the length of them
So they're a fairly standard unit
Yeah.
truck
Okay.
that's been catered for, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. We have no further questions? Okay. Let's move on to, we're going to break this part out of the rest of 7 so that we can deal with it here for those who are in the room. A little bit of context for those in the room, you'll see that there is quite a bit of red on the screen, and so what that shows is the difference between what you would have read in the agenda that went out earlier and what the current decision that is being put before elected members looks like now. A little bit of context also, you'll note that for point number B, we're looking at a parking review. And so there is a broader parking review that is happening across the city. And so what's being proposed here is that we take the learning, the feedback, the consultation outcomes, and then this gets considered as part of the broader parking review that's happening across the city, rather than breaking up streets in an isolated manner as this has originally been put. So just so that you understand the decision that is being put before elected members today. So essentially we are keeping the project alive. We are looking at a few more different options because we are wanting to find something that increases the amount of parks if possible, but also remains workable for people who are going to use it. So can I put the motion, which has been seconded by Councillor Thompson?
McDonald, I was just wondering, this is slightly earlier version where I think we were going to make it to 30 kilometres or less, just to allow for that flexibility if rules get in the way of us. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a very good question, and one that I had clarified just before. I'm advised that the street speed limit is already 30. Oh, okay. So if we're looking at options, then we would be looking at reducing that.
Right, goodness, all right, well, that people don't go through.
So we're looking at the impact of angle parking, looking at different designs, and also the ability to reduce the speed limit and what the impact of that would be. So I'm going to put that motion. Are you still comfortable to second that motion? Thank you. Can I please have a show of hands of... Oh, yeah, forgot the debate. Councillor Mead.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank the staff for the work that's been going on in this, and I think the work being undertaken on Barton Street and the wider Central City Parking Plan and this motion presents an opportunity to bring these initiatives together under a cohesive, integrated approach. Rather than treating them as standalone projects, we should view them as part of a broader Central City access and activation strategy, one that balances parking, movement and commercial vitality, and I think buys into the whole Central City revitalisation plan. By aligning these efforts and bringing them all the information together, we can ensure a coordinated outcome that improves accessibility, supports local businesses and delivers a total user-friendly and connected Central City for residents and visitors alike. It's a large task, but I feel it's one that would work by bringing the whole Central City together under one program, and thank you, Robin, for coming up with the process to put it back to there.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Councillor Thompson.
firstly do want to thank our transport staff for all of the work that has gone on to get to this point. There's obviously been a lot of time that's gone into consulting with businesses and bringing that information back, reviewing designs and going back out again to consult. So thank you. I'm not ready to give up on this project yet, which I know it's been a bit of a headache and will probably continue to be while we try and work through a workable solution. But I do think it's got real merit. When Kate from Ness raised the idea a while back, I think it was trying to solve a few problems. One, she mentioned the speeds of vehicles going down the street, which I was out standing on the street yesterday, you could see were definitely going more than 30 kilometres an hour. And also providing more parking where actually at peak times that can be very full down Barton Street. And there are some excellent shops. There's a really good foundation for a fashion retail destination street here in Hamilton, with exciting opportunities with the hotel opening in the future, which will further solidify it as a real retail destination. So I'm keen for us to persevere to see if we can get something that works, but obviously it needs to deliver enough parks that it would be worthwhile and worth spending the money on. So, yeah, I thank you in advance to our team for continuing to work for solutions. I think taking it to the parking review makes a lot of sense because that gives us a chance to look at the whole core of the central city together, where if we're looking at other opportunities to make streets one way, we obviously need to do that in a really cohesive way that makes sense. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Deputy Mayor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the recommendation you guys have put up. Thank you to Robin and Catherine for the work that's gone into this. Yeah, I was hoping to press the button today and get into the angled parking, but I understand there are issues around the ASB building and the service lane, and I acknowledge Peter Kemp's concerns. I'm not ready to give up on this one either. I think it's really important to get more on-street car parks, and I want to take every opportunity that we can, especially in the central areas of the CBD, such as Barton Street. So I want to persevere with this proposal, and I want to look at other design options as suggested by Vanessa Williams. And I note that the parking study, which will be done and dusted by November, is looking at both more off-street, significantly more off-street car parking, hopefully, and more on-street car parking, and at the options of you know, how do more one-way streets fit in with our network in terms of looking at a bit more angled parking. So I think there's a real place for this to be discussed as part of that wider conversation. So I'm happy with the recommendation because it keeps the project alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Taylor. Councillor Bitter.
Thank you, Chair. We have had a good listen to the public and businesses. Brad Saxton noted that parking is not always the issue, nor the only issue. There is a lot of truth in this. But perception of a shortage of car parks is still an issue. Vanessa Williams confirmed there is a majority support for more parks, and I think it is worth persevering with the project. Peter Camp and Brad Saxton noted potential safety issues from the angled parking. These could be solved by a one-way system, but to be certain requires some more work. If it doesn't work, then I don't support the two-way plan for safety reasons. Truck turning into the access lanes doesn't work with the current staff layout, so we do need to check options. It could be moving the motorcycle parking to the other side. So there are a number of things to check. So we've got to take a little bit more time, which is a shame because, like Jeff, I would have liked to press go on this, but we've got to get it right.
Thank you, Councillor Bitter. Yes, we'll just finish off with a couple of comments from me before we go to the vote. I'm a little bit like some of my colleagues where I get a little impatient and I want to make the decision so that we can get on with it. But in this instance, I recognise that the changes that are being proposed here are very significant. They change the roadscape, they change the way that that street will operate. And so to my mind, it makes sense to consider that in the broader context of the city, where parking will be used, where parking is needed and how it functions. I also would like to note my intention to increase parking where it makes sense, but again, that has to be weighed up in amongst other things like safety, like cost, like what people want. I've heard the comments both for and against, and I want to thank people who presented today and everyone who has been part of the consultation process, because that really shapes decisions. You know, that these aren't things that are just decided in a room here. Aside from there, these are things that are going to have flow-on effects into the real world. So it's really important to bring the real world back into here. I'm supportive of looking at more designs, because I think, like some of my colleagues, that there's got to be a sweet spot where we can optimise safety, where we can optimise benefit to businesses, where we can make sure that it's workable, that there's got to be something better that we can do. So I'm also not satisfied that we're there yet. And also, it comes back to cost. Now, when you delay decisions, when you put them into other spaces like inside the parking review, there is a cost to that. There's a cost every time we do consultation, but once those changes go in, we want them to stick. We don't want to be revisiting them in a year, 2 years, because they don't work. So I am supportive of the motion as it stands, and will open up for the vote. Can I please have those who are in favour of the motion give me an indication? Thank you, that's everybody, so that means there are no opposed.
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. So again, thank you to those who have come in to present on item number 7. We are now going to go back to the start of item number 7 and work through everything else. So if I can invite Robin, if you would come back up to talk us through the rest of item number 7, and those of you who are just interested in that part can get on with your day. Thank you very much. Right, item number 7 has a lot of operational detail, and I wanted to say thanks to Robin, who has prepared the report, for all of the explanations about what's proposed, where the information or where the proposal came from and why. So let's work through it in sections. Can we go from the start up to the Oderings Place part? So if you would like to speak to that part, Robin, is there anything you would like to draw our attention to?
Just to be clear, I didn't write this report. I'm presenting the report. There are a crew of lovely people behind me and online who have done a lot of work for all the pulling this together and doing all the consultation. And so I just want to be clear that I am representing their work. It's certainly not mine. And there is a lot of work involved. Right. So let's get to page. So the first one you wanted to talk to, sorry, Chair, was?
The top of item number 7.
Okay, so the first one in discussion then is Seddon and Bryce Street. That's on page 35. That's just a quick update from the resolution last time, where there was some parallel parking put in place, and there was a request by elected members to investigate whether we could pop another couple of parallel car parks in there without compromising the visibility, the sight distances. So that's been done, and the recommendation at this stage is that there is no additional parking put in there in order to retain that visibility. The next one in the agenda is Commerce Street, but I'll wait for that to pop up later in the agenda. So the next one then is Saxton Woods and Caversham Drive. Are there any questions? Otherwise I'll just keep scrolling down.
If I can get you to keep working through, and then we'll stop at Oda Rings, and then we'll get everyone to ask their questions up to that point.
Okay, so I'm happy to just take it as read and to answer any questions rather
Okay
than
then,
scrolling through.
thank you. If we have any questions up to Oda Rings, this would be the time to ask those. I actually have a couple of questions in relation to Oda Rings. So the report notes an even split between support and opposition. However, much of the detailed feedback outlined is opposition focused. Can you help us understand both the level and the nature of support versus opposition in relation to Oda Rings before we move on?
So in the figure 9, page 45, there is a picture of the street and the colour coding of the boxes with the house number gives you an indication of green in support, yellow against. This is a problem that we get in a lot of these tight cul-de-sacs where the parking behaviours in general can be lived with by the residents most of the time, but we do experience difficulties with being able to get the servicing of particularly rubbish trucks in at critical times, and inconsiderate parking at various times does create some friction between neighbours. So at this stage, based on the fact that there does need to be waste collection done on a regular basis, we are recommending that the no stopping be installed.
Thank you. One last question. Were there any alternative management approaches that were assessed before arriving at this recommendation? You talked about the practicality of the waste, you talked about inconsiderate parking. Is there anything else that weighed in on your decision, on your recommendation?
We have in other streets had the community come together and come up with their own solution. At the end of the day, as long as that rubbish truck can get in and we are not receiving complaints from residents not able to get in and out of their properties, then we're happy to not put in no stopping. But in this case, we haven't seen that community come together.
Thank you. That's all of my questions. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Thanks, Robin and team, for the report. I was interested in, it talks about not only the rubbish trucks but also emergency vehicle access, and we heard recently in a meeting with a representative from FENZ that there are quite a few streets in Hamilton where access is a worry for them. Is this something where we have a good view currently of where all those tight spots are for both rubbish and recycling and emergency vehicles?
So certainly for the waste management team, yes, because they come to see us every time they have a problem with,
Right.
with access. I guess from a FENZ perspective, hopefully they're not going down these streets too often. So it's a case-by-case basis. What I would say is this is a reflection of where we're going with the width of streets, more intensive housing, more cars, less parking on site, more parking on road. So this is something that we're just seeing increasing issues around. And will continue to, I believe.
Yep.
So through the chair, just to assist with that answer, I've got a team of staff meeting with FENZ today, working through all of the issues that are aware of. Thanks.
Thank you. And sorry, clarification, did you say there was an option, or there were ways that, say, communities and cul-de-sacs and things could manage their rubbish differently that could allow for parking if they did find a joint solution?
So through the equivalent of this committee, in the past, we've had proposals such as this and similar degrees of support and opposition. And the community in that cul-de-sac got together and worked our way forward for them to ensure that as neighbours they were able to get in and out of their properties, and agreed that on rubbish day they would have vehicles well clear so that the rubbish truck could get through. And on that basis, this committee decided not to take the staff recommendation for the no stopping and to let them work their way through, noting that if they didn't, that agreement fell over and the rubbish truck wasn't able to get through in the future, or some of the residents had ongoing difficulties, then the matter would be brought back to this committee.
Interesting, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. If we can go back to our report and look at the items between odouring and this no stopping restriction on Te Rapa Road, the service lane, just before Barton.
Okay, so there's only one more. So Torn Place is the next one, and then Te Rapa Service Lane is the next one. So
You'd like to add there, or open to questions?
open to questions.
Okay. Councillor Mead.
Thank you. Torn Place is a no-brainer for me with the amount of trucks and things out there. Well done on that. It's going to make it a lot simpler. That's just a good recommendation. I do have a question. Is this going to stop VTNZ parking the trucks on the sides of the roads, causing those problems that we see on Maui and on Torn Place?
I think the yellow lines is a good starting point.
Yeah.
And I guess provides clear indication to drivers as to what council at least believes are appropriate locations to park or not. And then it becomes a compliance and enforcement.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's continue through up to Akoranga. So are there any questions on the next block of items for Robin? Let's go up to Akoranga, and we'll do Akoranga separately. No questions? Okay, well, let's move into Akoranga. Question, Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Chair. My question was in regard to Waikato Regional Council's letter to us supporting this, but they also say, well, they indicate that they don't, they haven't confirmed that this would actually go ahead, the route change would go ahead before end of 2028 when the new bus contracts come in. So do you think it would be, Robin, do you think it would be reasonable for us to give, say, conditional approval of this subject to Regional Council getting on and making the route change within the next 12 months?
We could do it in a similar way to when we have developments where we're pre-approving it, noting that the development's to come and then the work is implemented at the appropriate time. So there would be a way of putting something similar in place to time it such that it works with that. I know that the conversations with Windtech are that they're really very strongly in support of this service being changed. So I believe that they'll be also talking to Regional Council to try and get this to happen, because they have major issues with parking out there with the number of students that they have.
So sorry, through the chair, Martin's been talking directly to WRC on this issue. And is Martin, are you online?
Yes, I'm here. Through the chair, and look, my apologies for not being there in person today. But yeah, look, WRC have indicated that there's a potential that route change could happen much sooner than 2028, possibly sometime in 2026. So, as Robin says, Wintec are chomping at the bit to get the buses down there because they've got terrible pressure on their parking in Akaringa Road. So, yeah, we'd be looking for some approval today to proceed.
So, Martin, have you seen the motion? I think it's now probably shared on the screen.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a good chance that they'll be able to do that. Excellent.
Yeah, I think that motion works for us, yes.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just note, can we uncouple the bus stop from the no stopping restrictions? Because it would be good to get the no stopping restrictions put in there as soon as possible. And happy for the bus stop to be perhaps tied to the confirmation by Regional Council. Would that be acceptable?
I think that's a great idea. Mm.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I have one question, which is for Kevin in relation to this. So this is a decision about where we're going to put a bus stop, but it enables the installation of a bus. It enables the installation of the bus stop and the road marking that's associated with this. Can you talk us through the relationship between this decision and the work that's happening in the procurement space?
Yeah, so through the chair, thank you for the question. The work that we're doing is we're breaking down a lot of components, particularly in the transport area, and working through with the procurement subcommittee chairs and deputy chair in that space. And we're looking at bus shelters and bus seats in particular, as two particular items, where we will walk through the understanding of how we procure these, what it costs to install them, in some detail, so we can get some confidence in and around the prices that we are putting up.
Thank you. So just to be clear, we're not deciding on bus stops today, we're deciding on where, but just noting that there is a flow-on impact from there. And I think that takes us to the end of...
Still amended further to... It's not quite there.
So we've taken out the bus stop. How do we uncouple that so that we can...
Recommendation is that for this motion that you actually leave the section that's crossed out in and take 1, 2 and 4 and put that back into the substantive motion.
Okay.
Sorry, governance.
So just a question for our team. What's the best way of handling this administratively? Just do the motion altogether as part of all of section 7, or do we need to break it out?
No, we're just bringing it out like this, but we're going to put these back into the big motion.
Okay, so we'll just do one now on the installation?
Yeah, we're just doing this
Okay.
motion here.
Got it. All right, motion on the board. The bits in the red that aren't crossed out, they're part of the motion. The bits in the red that are crossed out are not, and the black bit. Very technical. So in terms of our motion, Councillor Mead, you are putting the motion as the putter of the motion. Would you like to speak to it first?
Thank you, Chair. I'm in support of what's been going on over the last few days as part of this. The bus shelter pricing and the bus shelter installation is one of the first programs being reviewed as part of the procurement review in June, as Kevin has said. Through the process in the last few days and the assistance of staff, we've been able to reduce the estimated cost of the shelter. Moving forward, there will be a robust and ongoing review of pricing to ensure that costs remain aligned with market expectations. I've got to thank the collaboration of staff and elected councillors to get to where we've got today on the installation of this bus shelter, and this is paramount to the success of these reviews now and in the future. and shows the way forward for council and staff and elected members as the beginning of the maturity assessment report implications for pricing and getting things right. So thank you, Kevin. Appreciate the last day with you and your staff. We got there, and it's a great place to go forward from.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Is there anyone else who would like to, opening for debate? Any other comments?
Firstly, I want to acknowledge all the work that Councillor Mead has mentioned, so thank you to staff for that, and to Chair MacDonald for facilitating that as well. I would like us to ensure that this route change is actually going to go ahead promptly before we put in a bus shelter, because I do not want us to have a bus shelter sitting there unused for until at least the end of 2028. That's not a great look, and people will only cause confusion and frustration from people. So by putting a time limit on this, we give Waikato Regional Council a bit of impetus to make sure that they make a very timely decision on this. Thank you.
Thank you to Councillor Mead and Councillor Thompson for your comments. I would like to endorse both comments. I think they touch on really key points that are pertinent to this decision. So with no further debate, Councillor Mead is going to put the motion. I'm going to second it. Can I please have a show of hands for those who are in support? Thank you.
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Okay. We are now going to move to the minutes. Oh. Oh, yes. Rushing ahead. We have a little bit more of item number 7 to do. Is there anything else you would like to present from the bits that we haven't covered yet?
No, I'm happy to just respond to questions.
Thank you. Any questions from out of the pieces that we haven't covered yet? No? Okay, then I think we can put the motion for the coverage of the balance of item number 7. Okay, so item number 7, the motion, can we have the motion up on the board, please? So this covers all of the detail that we haven't discussed on an itemised basis. Thank you. So we are receiving the report, approving the changes that have been proposed, and noting that some of them will not take effect until the associated construction works are completed. And staff will seek at least 3 price options for road marking before proceeding.
And I just want to note that we've added the stuff in back for Okono Road.
Thank you. So that covers everything that hasn't been broken out separately already. Do I have anybody who would be comfortable to put this motion? Councillor Mead, anyone who would like to second? Councillor Thompson, thank you. Is there any debate? Councillor Mead.
Just for the support of the motion, again, I'd like to come back to speaking for it. The pricing outlined in the agenda for the line marking was considered high. I'd received feedback from industry experts in the public arena indicating that the estimated costs appeared to be above typical benchmarks. Followed really good constructive discussions with transport staff. It was agreed that we would take the work to the market with 3 tenders sought to establish a fair and accurate pricing benchmark. It's attended the pricing will be received and reviewed collaboratively, hopefully with the Chair and Deputy Chair and staff of procurement alongside staff as part of this ongoing cooperative. This decision represents an important step in implementing the revised procurement process and demonstrates the willingness of staff and elected members to work together to achieving better value and cost savings in the community. And again, I think Kevin and his team for some good discussions. There's nothing like some robust discussions sometime, and I think we're heading in the right direction. So thank you to you and your team for sitting down and going to where we got to today. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Before we take the vote, I also have a few comments that I want to make across item number 7 generally, because it covered a lot of things, right? There were a really broad range of operational changes, and a lot of what I've heard in today's discussion has been about proportionality. We've balanced, or we've heard and are weighing up safety, access, parking demand, business operation and cost, all within a cost-controlled environment. In relation to Barton Street, I'm really pleased that that was able to be separated out and dealt with and have the conversation around that. Now, we also touched on the bus stop location at Akoranga, and while, as has been noted, we have been looking at the site location, I also want to acknowledge the conversation that has been happening and bubbling away in the background in relation to what that enables downstream and the care that is taken in procuring the materials for that. So I'm comfortable supporting the operational recommendations while also supporting the broader procurement work that's currently underway to ensure stronger confidence around infrastructure pricing, particularly around items like bus shelters and road marking. So to my thinking, I'm really pleased with today's discussion. It's tested operational rationale and the value considerations behind these things. So with that, I would like to invite the vote. Can I have a show of hands for people who are prepared to support? Thank you very much.
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you. Right, we are now moving back to item number 6, which is the minutes. And can I have a mover for those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Bitter. Any seconder for those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Mead. Before we go to the vote for that, General Manager, would you like to make some comments in relation to the actions and update from there?
Yeah, so through the Chair, thank you for that. There's a few staff actions here. I'd just like to touch on those just to make sure that you're aware of the progress we're making on those. So staff action undertook to review a report back on the performance for the following projects in conclusion of their construction. So Caro Street, that will be constructed sometime in October, so we'll be coming back after that is completed. And in Cambridge Road pedestrian and cycling improvements, we'll be bringing that to the Transport Subcommittee on the 11th of August. 2 other staff actions there undertook to include more information and expected costs associated. And then another one, staff undertook to provide additional context as to changes that were as a result of the Waikato Regional Council's decisions and update on bus routes. I think you'll find that this report covered both of those things in the items appropriately, so we're going to see that now as business as usual. And then we had staff that undertook to circulate data regarding cyclist usage volume through the proposed Cambridge Road pedestrian and cycling project, so the Hillcrest Shops end of Masters Ave. So over the next few months, we'll be working in on that. We've been concentrating on Peach Grove Road for now. And then the last one was their staff undertook to review the changes at Seddon Road, and that's been completed in the report. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I please have a show of hands for those who are happy to accept the minutes? Thank you.
The motion was carried unanimously.
All right, moving right along. I feel like we've been through a lot of operational detail, but we are getting through it. Next item we're going to move to is the Chair's report. I will speak to that and then... Do I speak to it and then open for questions? Or do I just open? Comment that I would like to add in relation to my Chair's report, then I'll open for questions and we can have any comments that arise from there. So it was referenced by one of our submitters, one of our public forum attendees this morning in relation to council and the community. Now, that drew a lot of feedback, and much of the feedback that I received was transport related. People notice when intersections are awkward, people notice when congestion builds up, when parking disappears, or when something doesn't function the way that they expect it to. We've also heard concerns about financial pressure, and so we're hearing the need to be disciplined about where effort, funding and review work is directed. Not every concern that's raised is going to turn into a project, and not every part of the network can or should be revisited. That said, there are areas where we can do better, and that's why we are undertaking a structured review on parts of the network where recurring concerns continue to be raised or where things are working well. We're going to start with Pembroke Street, given the breadth and depth of public discussion during the election and ongoing concerns we've heard from residents and emergency services around how that corridor is functioning. At the next meeting, this subcommittee will help shape the criteria and prioritisation framework that will guide how future reviews will be identified and assessed. One last thing, in parallel with the operational transport work, as I've noted before, is a procurement review. These things work in sync together to systematically review how the transport procurement part is working alongside the operational decisions that we are making here. There's a lot of work to be done across the board to keep our city moving forward, but I'm excited to see us improving things as we go. Can I open up the time for any questions about my chair's report? It's very clear, isn't it? No questions? No questions? Okay, well then, does anyone have any debate, any comments, anything they'd like to say? Councillor Mead.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to reiterate the support what you've said about council and the community and the feedback. Hukanui Comries Road, nailed it. Went through there the other day and what a difference that's made. So that's well done to the team. I know it made it easy, it's simpler. So from things like that where we get feedback from the community and you go through it, it's good. I think there's a big correlation going on between a lot of the divisions of council now and collaboration, and going forward I think we're in a really good spot, and thank you for your report and thank you for the input from Transport today. I think we're on the right road.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Deputy Mayor Taylor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, look, I wholeheartedly support this, particularly having another look at Pembroke Street. I mean, I'd really like to see that work done. So let's find out how much it costs, and let's talk to the emergency services again. And if it's cost effective, there may well be other traffic interventions around the city that we could have a relook at as well. So well done, support it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Taylor, Councillor Thompson. Yeah, I'm having a hard.
We might have to separate ourselves next meeting. Thank you, Chair, for your report and for the very thoughtful way that you're approaching the review of particular transport projects. There's a real balance, as you said, with the cost of doing so, but also the need to ensure that we're addressing issues that are particularly important on the network, and where we've had a lot of feedback from our community. Certainly, in-lane bus stops is, I would say, over the election, it was the most commonly raised issue. Wasn't the most popular project that we've completed as a council. So I do, and there were a lot of concerns around the impacts on emergency services, particularly given its location close to the hospital. I think any decision going forward needs to be well informed with data, so that, because there will be a cost to any potential changes, and we have to then weigh up, is that where we need to put the money, or are there other needs that are more pressing? And so having the right information, having the data before us would be really helpful to understand directly from emergency services, which I think is the biggest issue of concern in regard to the Pembroke street crossing is really important. Personally, I use the signalised crossing on an almost daily basis, being a local in this area. So there are parts to this project which are really useful, and I see it well used, and it's right opposite a very busy facility for sports and childcare and other things. So there are elements here that I think we would certainly want to be keeping, but yeah, interested to see what the costings are that come back and where this sits as a priority for our emergency services compared to potential other interventions that they're also asking us for. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. With no further comments, can I move that my report be accepted, adopted, and Councillor Thompson is going to second that. Can I please have a show of hands, those who are happy to support? Thank you.
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. We are going to move to our last item of business, which is the proposed speed limit for Te Rapa Road, Hutchinson Road to State Highways 1C, consultation results and approval. So invite Robin back to speak. Are there any areas that you would like to highlight from the report, Robin?
No, thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take it as read and answer any questions.
Okay. Open the floor for questions. Councillor Bitter.
Thank you, Chair. Robin, the number of public submissions or feedback, was that higher than normal for a project like this?
No, it was about half the number as what we got for Warri Drive,
Right.
Kawera intersection.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. I will jump in there. Looking at the consultation results, looking at the traffic report, can you tell us what evidence most strongly suggests that the 80 kilometre limit, 80 kilometres per hour limit, is no longer appropriate for this corridor?
The key reason behind the recommendation for the lowering of the speed limit is the expected increase in the number of pedestrians that are going to be crossing this road and the interaction that they're going to have with vehicles. And it's all about the likelihood of death and serious injury if a pedestrian's hit by a car.
Thank you. Second question is, what evidence gives you specific confidence that lowering the limit here would materially improve safety and outcomes for this corridor specifically?
The lowering of the limit would reflect what a large majority of people are driving anyway, and having the limit that supports that means that you get better homogeneity of vehicle speeds. So while a large number of people are naturally going at that speed, we do have a lot of drivers who see a speed limit as being the target and seem to think that that's what they need to achieve. So we get rid of that mix. And we also know there is good data for when you lower a speed limit that you do get a decrease in the speeds through there as well. So it's all about bringing it down to something that's closer to a survivable speed limit for an interaction between a car and a pedestrian.
Thank you. And my last question is, given that the average speed there is measured at around 64 kilometres an hour, does that suggest that the corridor is already influencing driver behaviour in the way that we would expect?
It is already with the two roundabouts in place, but as I said previously, that's not all drivers. We still have a group of people who see the speed limit as being the target and try and accelerate out of those two roundabouts to get to that. And I guess this is a proactive step, noting that we're about to put in the signalised crossing and that the housing in the Te Awa Lakes area is now coming on board, and that we will have families moving into that area from about this time onwards.
Thank you. We have no other questions for Robin. Then I will open for debate. Do we have anybody who would like to make comments in relation to this item? Deputy Mayor Taylor.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I'm supporting option 2 as is up there, keeping the speed limit at 80 for the time being. I'm all for setting speed limits that intuitively make sense. I'm not a fan of overreach when it comes to speed limits. I'm still thinking about Cobham Drive, and I'm still thinking about all the drivers who are shaking their heads as they try to somehow stay under 60 k's along Cobham Drive, because I just think that was a very poor decision. And I think decisions like that reduce our credibility, because we're setting speed limits that are just unrealistic. And the public surprise to this consultation doesn't surprise me at all. People, when it comes to transport projects, people respond to those through common sense and lived experience. And I don't think that common sense and lived experience has been taken into account by this council and a lot of its transport projects over the last couple of terms. So I am supportive of this, or very supportive of keeping it there for now. I accept there may come a time when the area does become built up enough that reducing the speed limit does start to make some practical sense. But at this stage, I'm very happy to leave it where it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Taylor. Councillor Mead.
Thank you, Chair. The proposed speed change for Te Rapa Road has undergone public consultation and has been thoroughly reviewed. The results showed approximately 80% of respondents did not support a change. As elected members, it's important that we listen to the views of the community who have entrusted us to represent them, but also heed the staff consultation results too. But based on this feedback, it's appropriate at this time not to proceed with the proposed change to the speed limit. However, it is acknowledged that circumstances can evolve, and there remains the opportunity to bring this matter back to Council for reconsideration in the future when the timing and conditions are more appropriate and the level of build and infrastructure out there requires it.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Councillor Bidder.
Thank you, Chair. 629 submissions is a good response for this project. It is not as high profile as Wairere Drive, but that's still a very good outcome from what was obviously a very good consultation process. The data shows a good cross-section of society, and the result is a clear 4-1 to keep the current speed limit, so I will side with the public on this.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Consultation isn't a referendum. We need to weigh up not only numbers, but also the reasons that the public give for their opinions. We have to weigh up who is giving their opinion, and some people will be more heavily affected by a decision than others. We have to weigh up also what we know as elected members. In this instance, however, we have had such a strong response, 80% against the change, that it is very hard to look beyond that very strong response from the public in opposition. So I will be supporting retaining the speed limit as it is at this time. I do think that this is going to have to come back to Council in the future when the area is more built up, when the need becomes more obvious to residents, where we are going to have more houses and more industry in the area, with more people needing to get across the road to access the bus stop and other things. So really, I think this is a matter of timing in this case. I do think that it's important for the public to have trust in our decision making and our consultation process, that where there is such a clear steer in one direction from them, that we do give that a lot of weight. So as mentioned, it's not in every case that I believe we go with what the majority of consultation comes back with, but in this case, because of the numbers being so stark, I'll support the retention of the 80 Ks. Yeah.
Thank you. I would also have a few comments that I would like to add. There was a very clear response received through consultation. As has been noted, around 80% opposed reducing the speed limit. That level of feedback deserves proper weight in our decision making, but it's not the only thing to consider. It's important to recognise the actual average speed through there is around 64 kilometres per hour, which suggests to me that drivers are already responding to the conditions of the road and self-moderating their behaviour accordingly. So for me, the question is, what is the additional safety problem we're trying to solve today by lowering the speed limit, and has that case been sufficiently made? I support evidence-based safety work where there is a clear, where the need is clear and the benefit is compelling, but where there is overwhelming public opposition and where current driver behaviour already reflects an awareness of the road conditions, the case for overriding public view should be strong. At this stage, I'm not persuaded that threshold has been met. We have a responsibility to make affordability and prioritisation decisions and be careful about where we intervene, particularly when the behaviour we're trying to achieve already appears to be happening. That doesn't mean the conversation can never be revisited. I agree it likely will be, but based on the conditions and the information that we have today, I too support keeping the limit to 80. Thank you. Let's move to the vote. Can I please have a show of hands of all those who support the current motion as it is? Do we? Yep. Can we have the motion up, actually? Just so people are 100% sure on what they're voting on. Here we go. Okay, so effectively we are receiving the report, hearing the submissions and approving option number 2. Deputy Mayor Taylor, would you voting? Yep, okay.
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of our very exciting Transport Subcommittee meeting. Thank you to everybody who has contributed. And I also just want to pick up on the note that Robin made earlier in my omission. Love to give you all the credit, but I also do recognise that there is a whole team of people who work together to put that together for us. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time, for your preparation and input today. We will close our meeting with karakia. Those of you who would like to join me, please do so. Tēnei te whakakaerea, tēnei te whakawātea, haumie huie taekia. Thank you very much.